Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Women's Splain. Today, we have a very special episode with an amazing guest, Cassandra Vnook. She is a female founder of two awesome companies, and we're really excited to have her.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Awesome. And we're so excited to have you. So I would love to just start. You can just introduce yourself and tell us about your companies.
Yeah. My name is Cassandra Vnook. I'm 26 years old. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I've been in New York for about 8 years now, trying to navigate the wonderful world of entrepreneurship in New York City itself. And it's been quite the process. It's been quite the journey.
That's amazing. And I know you have two companies, one in real estate and one in basically LGBTQ events. So I'd love to just hear about your career journey and sort of what led you to founding both these companies.
Yeah, I mean, let's start off with real estate. My company, Alpha Home Buyers, it was kind of a byproduct of circumstances, right? So I started off like any young, ambitious woman who wanted to, make a lot of money. I got my real estate license. I had this strong conviction that I'd make millions of dollars. I would, grit, grind. Let's hit the pavement. And I found at a very young stage in my career that the competition was almost impalpable. It was like everyone's mother's brother's sister was a broker. They already had the relationships, and no matter how hard I worked, I felt like I kept hitting this wall of, like a certain ceiling per se. So I found myself being very frustrated with the process in itself. And COVID ironically happened. So that kind of put a stop with, real estate in general. And at the time, I wasn't making that much money. I was kind of living paycheck to paycheck. And I made a few phone calls to a few buddies, and I was like, listen, I need a job, right? I can't just sit around and just wait until this COVID thing is going to end. And so my buddy was like, listen, I have another buddy who's young. He's making a lot of money. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's making a lot of money and he's in real estate. Give him a call. So I gave him a call, and I ended up becoming his cold caller for a few months, which was a real estate investment company focusing on distressed properties. And so that was kind of the transition into this niche part of real estate, which is real estate investing and wholesaling. After a few months, I realized that I was being grossly underpaid and realized my worth and decided to start my own thing. And it's been history ever since. So that was the real estate business. And for events, it was also a very organic transition as well. We initially started off as a tech startup, right? So the initial idea was to revamp the LGBTQ women's online space for dating. The options for queer women, especially with online dating, is limited, and it's not very powerful, and it leaves a lot of women feeling alienated, and a lot of people are kind of taken off from apps because of this poor UX UI experience. So we created Let's Be, and the events kind of came as a byproduct of the marketing of Let's Be. Something we can get into later down the road about kind of where Let's Be is now. But that's basically, we created, we wanted to create an online space for queer women to successfully and joyfully navigate.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to hear about both those companies. I'm also really interested in real estate, events, social media, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about Alpha Homes. So you mentioned you got your real estate license. Right now, what is the main service? So it seems like you buy distressed properties, flip it, and then sell it?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both, right? So we can either purchase the property, double close on it, and keep it for ourselves, or we'll do something called, in the wholesaling industry, assigning the contract. So again, all these homes are distressed, and distress is not just an ugly home. There's a lot of different factors that can go into distress, like tax liens, pre-foreclosures, pre-probates, probates, a lot of legal jargon, but these are highly motivated sellers that need to sell due to the circumstances of, as what I just mentioned. Again, our main market is Connecticut, Illinois, Ohio, North Carolina, but we've done deals nationwide as long as it's in the right market, within the right radii, and with the right comps.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you founded this company yourself?
Yes.
And how big's the team? Is it just you, or who's helping you build the empire?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing about this niche part of real estate is you don't need a huge team to be massively successful. I'm talking about profit margins. I'm talking about also low overhead costs. So again, this was all virtual. If anybody's listening to this, podcast, you could go on YouTube and type in wholesaling real estate virtually, and all the big players are virtual because, again, low overhead costs. So we have a small team right now. I have a VA, which is overseas. I have 2 cold callers, and I have another person that's doing text SMS campaigns. So these are our marketing outreach, outbound marketing outreach to basically reach out to the sellers who might be showing some sign of distress, see if they're willing to sell their property.
Got it. How do you find these properties usually?
There is a bunch of lists that you could pull from.
Okay.
It's a nationwide data list where you could pull in every county or in every state certain criteria. Some of that criteria, like I mentioned, tax liens, pre-foreclosures, pre-probates, probates. This is all public knowledge. It is a bit expensive. That's part of the overhead cost. But what we do is we pull these lists within certain counties, and then what we do is we skip trace them. Skip tracing in this industry means finding the owner's full name and their direct phone number. And then that's when we reach out and kind of, it's nearly like a cold call saying, hey, we're looking to buy in the area. Would you consider an offer on your home? And just kind of navigating the people that say yes. And obviously if they say no, on to the next.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
awesome. Super interesting. And what do you think is something maybe you've learned from your process of within real estate, becoming from a broker kind of rental side, now you're in the buying kind of purchasing, and also founder perspective? What is maybe kind of one big thing you've learned from this process journey?
I think the transition from being a broker and in a way I was almost still an employee to now being a business owner and truly understanding the difference between what a good deal is and what a bad deal is, right? Ask me when I was a broker, I didn't really know the difference. I could look at the comps, but now seeing there's certain formulas that I've learned and just being in this industry of investors, and you speak with other investors, you speak with hedge funds, you understand what people are buying in the area, and you also see what upcoming markets are kind of emerging. And so with that knowledge, I'm now able to look at a deal, and it doesn't have to be in any market. I don't have to know anything about the market. You could say, hey, this is the address. I could tell you probably within a minute what number we would need to be at for it to make sense for an end investor to purchase that property with cash in as-is condition and closing quickly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And are you flipping the houses, or you're buying it, like improving it, selling it, right?
So right now I'm focusing mainly on wholesaling virtually, which essentially is getting the property, getting the deal essentially is the hardest part in this industry. Finding a distressed property seller who's willing to sell it at a discount for time and convenience, right? Okay. That is building rapport with people you've never met, by the way. I've never met them in person. We only speak to them on the phone. So it's building that trust, building that rapport, and convincing them that we are the right company to connect and lock up the agreement, lock up the deal, and then essentially we'll sell it to another end investor. It is my goal before the end of this year to complete my first flip. We're just waiting for the right opportunity, but we have everything in place to, complete our first flip. But
that's amazing.
Again, these investors that purchase these properties, there's a minimum profit margin that they're looking at. So we'll flip a deal, we'll never touch it. We're making $10,000 to $15,000. They're purchasing the property and they're making $80,000 to $100,000 in profit. So it's a little bit more risky, but the profit margin's a bit higher.
And let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the overall real estate market right now. We know the mortgage rates are up. It's coming down a little bit. I think it's still at 7% right now.
Insane.
The home prices I know are going up a ton.
Yep.
There's a lot of demand and not a lot of supply.
Yeah.
Is that what you've been seeing? How is it, affecting, I guess, your business? And then what do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years?
Yeah, great question. I think sellers have become incredibly savvy and intelligent with the access to information and knowledge, which is both a good and a bad thing. Websites like Zillow that provide a quick guesstimate of the home can sometimes positively or negatively affect the way that a seller thinks. With that being said, speaking to motivated sellers and trying to talk about the benefits of using our company versus putting on the market, they all think that if they put it on the market right now, an offer will be immediately submitted and they'll be closing and it'll be at an all-time high. we've seen a decrease in the delusional sellers.
Okay.
But they still have this idea or this concept that, they could put it on the market and instantly have an offer ready in hand. So, the overall market, I think, has definitely kind of been satiated over the last year. But again, it's the whole conversation of demand. Real estate investing, again, we're dealing with off-market properties and we're going direct to the seller. So it's a bit of a different sector of real estate versus retail. But, obviously we've had this discussion before and we know about it as young women, as young entrepreneurs ourselves, right? Purchasing a home is, the American dream. And the ability to get into that now versus before, it feels like every single day it's another feat, right? The 7% interest rate, absolutely insane. Hard money lending, by the way, is just 1% higher, right? And hard money lending is lending for investors.
Yeah.
So again, financially, it doesn't seem like a sound investment for anybody at this time. So my biggest take is for people that want to get into the industry, that want to purchase their first home, doing it the traditional means, the traditional route of going on the market, working with a broker, submitting bids, you're not going to be making that initial equity that you want to. And so I would tell all the viewers here today, start looking into off-market opportunities, start talking to people, maybe put your money in a fund and learn about how to do a flip. All these things will kind of give you the right ammo to go into the market with a stronger mindset and knowing, again, the difference between a solid deal, not so solid deal, because we're not in the late 1990s anymore. The landscape has changed, and so you have to adjust. And I don't think the traditional means of acquiring a property right now as a first-time home buyer is even feasible for the average American.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's great advice, and I love that your company is focused on this very niche and also growing area of real estate, of up and coming markets. I feel like the areas you've named, specifically New Haven, North Carolina, Illinois, growing with young families. Development, and also somewhat farther away from cities, which are also areas that tend to be cheaper, but now more access given remote work. So I feel like you're tapping into really great markets that are undervalued. Yeah. And I think that's honestly great advice generally too, is we're now in a different area of you don't need to live where you work, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for real estate investing and also your first home, which is awesome.
And the cost of living as well,
and
right?
And the cost of living, yeah.
As we all live in New York City, and it's just getting increasingly more expensive. And at some point, young people, especially with a career ahead of them, and they don't have to be completely in the office, why would you stay if it's not serving you anymore,
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I feel like that's a great transition to talking about your planning events in New York City as well.
This is where the fun part comes in.
And I know, exactly. And so excited. I feel like lots of connection there. And I know so random, but we randomly met that one time when you were first promoting this social media app in the park, and then we ended up getting connected later. But we'd love to just hear about your journey of moving to New York City and just from what you've told me, seeing just sort of a lack of opportunity in terms of events for queer women.
Absolutely. And what a crazy story how we met. What was it, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
And we were doing a little hidden camera experiment where I was going out to, I was purposely trying to be rejected for the shock value of saying, hey, it's hard to navigate New York City and finding other queer women, come to our events. And that was kind of the basis. But Brooke ended up being one of the girls that I went up to.
So funny.
She was sitting down on the lawn in, where is it, Washington Square Park?
Square Park, yeah.
We were with a friend. And anyways, but creating Let's Be was such an important thing for not only myself, right? When I first came to New York City as a young queer woman, I had these dreams and just thoughts and plans in my mind that I would meet all these young queer women and I'd fall in love and I'd meet my first girlfriend and the whole thing that you see on the L Word, right? Only to be really disappointed with what the spaces had to offer. For those who don't know, there's only 3 lesbian spaces in New York City alone and only about 8 nationwide.
Like
What?
bars? Or?
Yes, bars.
Okay.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
3?
Only 3.
Oh my god. Only 8 in the country?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
insane. It's insane.
Considering the percentage of the population, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when we were doing our market research for the app, we actually understood why that business plan wasn't salvageable, because queer women is such a niche community as well. So we step aside with the app. We were like, these women need queer spaces, and not just another bar, right? Because a lot of the bars that are available to us right now are kind of divey, or there's like, you know, a club called Henrietta Hudson, which is great, but it doesn't allow you to foster new connections because the music's so loud. It's like a typical club. So we wanted to basically recreate the event space for queer women and having more options. So, you know, ours was kind of based off of themes, right? So during Valentine's Day, we're doing speed dating events. During the summer, we're doing pool parties. During the winter, we're doing, you know, Christmas parties. All different themes that bring people together, have something to talk about, but there's also like an end goal in mind of creating and fostering a community. And that was really important when we created Let's Be. It was like creating a space where it's different, it's young, it's sexy, it's unique, and you're walking away with friends. That was it wasn't about creating the best party or even making money. It was about bringing the people together and seeing, you know, the magic that follows.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So right now is so there's a social component of having, you know, different events. Is there like a dating component with the app? Is that something that you're considering? And then I would assume it's the first app of its kind that exists, right?
Yeah, first app of its kind. So we launched about a year and a half ago. We were on the App Store. We did do a little bit of fundraising. We raised about $60,000 with friends and family.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Created the MVP. Learned a lot in between. Launched it, had a few bugs, and essentially we just ran out of money. And that was kind of the transition into just, hey, let's stick with these events because it was working and we were having a great turnout. And we realized, again, women wanted more in real life connections than even online. So that's kind of on the back burner now for the app. And now we're really going hard with the events. And actually, we're kind of in the process of rebranding it because the events have been so successful. We want to separate the Let's Be corporate kind of tech culture and separate it with our events. And so now we're kind of, you know, we have some people with, you know, behind this new company from Let's Be, but we also have a completely new, young, fresh mind that's also joining. And
Got it.
Yeah, we're really excited.
And how are you like marketing and promoting the events?
Yeah, I mean, marketing, it's the grind, right? It's the grind. I'm in a place right now in the business where we have built such a strong emailing list that it doesn't really require much anymore. But before, when I first started off, it was a lot of talking to people, messaging girls on, you know, Instagram, reaching out to influencers, and then of course TikTok, which was a great platform for us to get out to the community. And all of those videos have gone viral. Only when I talk about events.
Wow.
So you could see the demand
Yeah.
and kind of the you know, the attention and the responsive rate of seeing those kind of videos. It just, you know, further validates the theory that queer women need more spaces.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what's so crazy is in comparison to like bars and events for queer men, it's so small, right? Like I feel like there is a huge community for gay men in New York City and in San Francisco and across the country, Miami, etc. That it seems so wild that queer women are not served. And I feel like you're really like honestly serving like an incredible market of super strong women who are being like subjugated. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know why nobody else has done it.
Yeah, like no one else doing it.
You know,
like I'm so shocked.
Yeah,
and it's just like I'm like, why is no one even seeing this?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. You know, so with the rebrand, the events company is going to be called Sociale.
Ooh, I love that.
And
that's a good name.
Thank you. And we are going to have our Pride kickoff event at the Summer Club, which is LIC, which is a really wonderful outdoor venue. Pool. It's going to be a pool party. So 1,500 women that we're aiming for. Yeah, you guys should come.
Yeah, we'll definitely
You guys will be our honorary guests.
I'll definitely come.
Yeah.
I went to one of your events a few years ago at the Gans Award.
Okay. That was mid.
Okay, I had fun. I thought it was cool.
It was good. It was a good one. That was for Pride as well, I believe.
That was for Pride as well. Yeah, and it was fun. And I was like, felt like it was very networking. Is what I felt like, which was cool.
Yeah.
And this sounds more like fun. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Our last Pride event last year was at 235th Rooftop.
Oh, that's awesome too.
And so we hit, one of our biggest events was over 800 women, which was, really fun and fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Again, just trying to, the idea of the pool party actually came from Dinah Shore. And for people who are watching this who are queer, they'll know Dinah Shore was a pool party on the West Coast in Palm Springs. And I went there and I was so disappointed. It was just really corny, right?
Yeah.
And so again, we wanted to take that same idea and just kind of elevate it for the queer women's experience. So we're really excited to roll that out June 28th.
It sounds awesome. It sounds so fun. And like, who doesn't love a pool party, right?
Yeah, right?
That's awesome. That'll be great. And where can they look for our listeners who would like to come? Do you have a place to plug in?
Yeah, I mean, check us out on Sociale on Instagram, SOCIALE, and Sociale Events, or you guys can follow me, Cassandra Vnook on Instagram.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, I feel like this has been great, but one last question for you. I feel like you had so many different passions and, being an entrepreneur, it's really important to learn from your journey. If you have one last piece of advice for anyone who's interested in starting a company or even, planning events or anything that they want to do, what would it be as, a young female entrepreneur?
What a great question. Let me think for a moment. I would say number one, identify an industry you really enjoy. Number two, figure out what you could do better within that industry, how you could better the industry or the product. Number three, make a business plan. Number four, speak with as many people as you can regarding that business plan. Number five, get educated. 6, take massive action, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Take massive and imperfect action every day towards your goal. Don't be afraid to fail. And don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, especially as a woman in these spaces. You have to be a little louder for the people to hear you in the back. So don't be afraid to speak, not only on your name, but your product, your dream, and the right people will come and they'll listen.
Well, that's super powerful and a great way to close the podcast. I love that. I feel inspired. So inspired. Thank you so much, Cass. This is amazing.
Thank you so much
We're really
for having
excited
me.
to see where your companies go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.